Welcome to the Online Graduate Research Forum for Fall 2016. My name is Derek Brown, your presenter. I'm a graduate student in the Master of Science and Interdisciplinary Studies program in the Department of Occupational Workforce and Leadership Studies. The title of my research study is A Review of Fear and the Role Fear Plays in Student Athletes. I was excited to pursue this research study to understand how student athletes exhibit fear after I read that shame coping techniques. 4 techniques affect an athlete's behavior, including withdrawal, attack self, avoidance, and attack others. Each comes with its own set of pros and cons, and every athlete can identify one more than the other. If we can understand their fear, we can address it and push them in the right direction. The study is significant because fear is universal in humans, but we lack an understanding of how it's exhibited in athletes. Fear has been in our brain's survival technique since the beginning of time. Traumatic events pass through the amygdala, our fear creator, and are stored in the hippocampus to alert us when danger arises again. In athletics, the process is not as simple. The leaders in athletics are the coaches. They are the ones athletes look up to. However, coaches are also the ones who create this fearless athletes in the locker room type of talk. Prohibiting athletes from being open and honest about their feelings could be having grave consequences on their physical potential. The purpose of this study was to gain the perspective of the athlete and develop a comprehensive report of the internal behavior links between athletics and fear. 3 research questions guided this study, including: how do athletes feel fear versus the will to succeed? How does fear prohibit athletes from success in practice or competition? And what methods combat feelings of fear? A philosophical design guided this study. The purpose of this design is to challenge assumptions and disrupt the status quo of a given industry. For this study, that status quo would be fear having a negative connotation amongst its culture. I contacted coaches from various sports and schools. The coaches had the ability to select 1 or 2 athletes that fit the criteria to participate in the study. The coaches recommended 20 athletes before I narrowed the pool down to 6 student athletes. I selected both male and female participants, and they were between the ages of 20 to 22. The sports represented in the study were football, basketball, baseball, softball, and volleyball. Exclusion criteria, including being a redshirt or unable to play in a previous or upcoming season, and or lacking significant in-game experience. If a player was a team member but did not receive adequate playing time during their season, their interview would be deemed inadmissible. Each athlete had to endure the pressures of competition to be selected for this study. Data collection comprised of 6 interviews using a semi-structured protocol. Semi-structured interviews are used with predetermined open-ended questions that can be explored for themes at the conclusion of the interview. Data analysis comprised of qualitative methods, including thematic coding. Thematic coding is defined as the grouping of similar characteristics by prior data, theory, or inductive coding. The first major finding of the study was success in practice and fear in competition. Every student athlete interviewed reported a lower level of pressure in practice and a greater success rate. They did not feel fear and instead allowed themselves to be open to making mistakes because it would improve their skill set. However, during competition, they experienced more pressure from factors including crowd, opponent difficulty, in-game situations, and athletic skill level. In fact, data concluded that the crowd or attendance had played a significant role in the athlete's shame coping mechanism. A larger crowd meant more people would see each and every mistake they made. This increased the pressure exponentially, and the fear as well. This finding begs the question, what is occurring between practice and the game that is preventing these athletes from being as successful? If the ball, field, court, uniforms remain the same, then what internal and external factors could be affecting gameplay? The crowd is a major factor, but there are more. The second finding was pressure in practice versus competition. There are 2 mindsets present in athletics, and they are fear of failure and the will to succeed. Student athletes reported a fear of failure mindset during competition due to the idea that a mistake would cost them the game. The will to succeed mindset was more prevalent in practice because the coaching staff was encouraging mistakes to get better rather than shunning them. Mistakes were a gateway to improvement, therefore the fear of failure was replaced with motivation. When the athlete was driven by motivation, their confidence increased because in theory they had nothing to lose. In the game, fearing failure is a norm because the stakes are increased. The greater risk associated with each and every possession, the more fear is able to control these athletes physically. Intrinsic pressure increases in game automatically because the game holds greater value in the player's mind. That means the margin for error decreases, but a mindset that increases error is also at play. How do we help give these athletes the best chance of success with such a complicated internal situation? The answer is definitely not to avoid fear altogether, but yet that was the third finding of this study. Every single athlete stated that their coaching staff either did not help them cope with fear or avoided it entirely. The physical abilities of these athletes were being tended to nearly every single day in order to improve and find success. The mental stresses were not considered a priority, and the term fear was mislabeled as a negative emotion for an athlete to feel. Some athletes even stated their coaching staff considered fear synonymous with failure, and if they expressed the feeling, it would be frowned upon. That is a traditional culture that these athletes are being forced to maneuver in. Student athletes look to coaches for guidance in all things associated with their sport. If they want to understand the offense and defense better, improve a particular skill, or develop stronger IQ, the coach is the best option. Fear has been proven to be universal, but coaches are neglecting the emotion in athletes, and it's affecting their behavior, performance, and mental state during competition. My study was limited by the number of participants in a geographic area, and by a lack of quantitative statistics to support the interviews. Given these assumptions, I recommend that future research examine the effects of teams who address fear and attempt to aid their players in coping with it in competition. This could be conducted at the high school or collegiate level in multiple states or regions. To give an accurate analysis, I recommend tracking the individual success of the players and the overall winning percentage of the team. By comparing the teams who address fear in a positive way to those who do not, will statistically give us a better understanding of whether mental coaching of the feeling is beneficial or not. Ideally, future research should attempt to create a method of coaching that puts an athlete in the optimum mental state for success. This could be through a will to succeed mindset, fear of failure, or maybe even a combination of both. They say athletics is great for young adults because it gives them characteristics that can be translated into their daily lives. If we can teach athletes how to be successful with the amount of mental pressures they must endure, the method could then be translated into education, business, and other leadership roles. As I stated previously, fear is universal. Therefore, a method to combat it will affect just as many people as it plagues. I have prepared a manuscript of this research study for the possible peer review in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine. On the page below, please indicate your anonymous preference for the study by clicking on one of these two icons. In addition, please post your comments or questions in the YouTube comment section below. I will respond to inquiries posted from November 16th through the 30th on this webpage. Thank you.